So let's start off with a purpose, right? Let's start off with our vision. So we all have a purpose and vision in our mind. It's a burning desire that when we wake up, that's all we think about. It's what we want to do, it's what we want to accomplish. And sometimes life kind of just, it's there and it gets pushed back, or we have people that are negative and they tell us, oh, well, that's really dumb, or, oh, you really shouldn't do that, or that's really risky. And those are the people that you have to separate yourself from, because they don't have that vision. You have that vision. God gave you that vision, not them. So they won't understand your purpose. So I want to reinforce, and that's so important to me, is that you have to protect your vision. You have to protect your purpose. You can't just go and tell everyone what your plans are, what your dreams are, because they're not going to understand. They're not going to be able to see what you see. So you're looking at a dream that only you can see, and they won't understand that. And I want to give you an example of a real life experience that I had, which actually made me who I am today and am able to provide help for others, because I learned through trial and error and through my own experience. So a quick story is, before I got into hospitality, I was a registered nurse. I'm still a registered nurse. I still have my license. I can walk into any hospital and just get a job, because nurses are needed and we're always going to need nurses. So when I had the opportunity to come into hospitality, I had the hotel, which is the current hotel that we have now. It was managed before I even walked in from a previous manager. And I'm not going to get into too much details regarding how that management was set up, but it wasn't managed right. And it was very, very unsuccessful for at least 3 years. It was putting money in every month. My husband was putting money in every month, and I had no idea. I was like, that's what you want. That's your business. I am not in hospitality. I'm just a nurse, And it really hurt me to see that all this money was going into it. And I was like, you know what? That's my money too. Like, that's my family's money. And so I took it upon myself, like, okay, I might not know hospitality and all of that stuff, but I know I can figure it out. Like, I know I can figure it out. So I told my husband, you know what? Just give me the chance to go in there and figure it out. So we were actually the manager that was there at the time was a partner. This is what was a difficult part. And we got him out. And the way we got him out was a very difficult way of getting him out. And I won't get into details about that. But eventually he was gone. And basically there was no one in there who was a manager at the time who had the experience, because as a team, your team looks to your manager for direction. He was gone. So we got some help with the franchise, with the I forgot what the title is. They change the titles all the time, but basically she kind of helped get us on the right direction. That's the thing about franchises, that they have resources. And we were training someone to learn, but she wasn't fit for it either. So she was gone a year after she came in. We were training her to become a manager. We titled her to be a manager. We paid her fees. And while she was learning, I was learning. Okay? And then I realized that I was learning at a faster rate than she was. And I was going over like, hey, you're supposed to charge no-shows. You're supposed to collect the money. And so almost the whole year that went by, did I realize we weren't posting payment on no-shows. And I was so furious, because that was revenue missed. And that was something that you learn right when you start learning when you're with Choice, they give you a platform called Choice U, and you educate yourself on how to post charge, post payment, refund, and all that stuff. And I'm like, how can you miss that, you know? And so, anyways, eventually she quit 1 year later. But at that time, boom, I already knew everything about Choice Advantage, brand standards. So that's how I was able to self educate myself. But this is where I'm talking about that vision. My husband was like, listen, this is just not going to work out, you know. I'm going to need we're going to have to get a we're going to have to get a management company because I don't know what we need to do. I said, and I read the contract, and it was like, you got to pay, I think at the time you have to pay per month and a percentage, and it's not going to be a guaranteed success if we even help you. And I was like, I don't want that. Like, no, like they can just come in and just like do whatever and be like, I'm still going to get paid per month. And then they get like a percentage more after like, a certain amount per month. And I was like, no. Let me go in there. And I told him, look, I went through, I analyzed it, you know, I looked at everything like it was a human body because I was a registered nurse. I assess, try to figure out the root cause of things, and we try to fix with medicine, right? With the help with the doctor. So I went in there and I analyzed my building and everything. And I told him, you know what? This is what we need to do. And I can see that if we do this, we do that, and we do this, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. It's not gonna go like it is. And so the key components was, I said, I know you've been spending money every month paying bills. I know you put in at least $1 million, almost $2 million in it, and it's still not making any money because there were some things going on that money was taken out, and basically one of the managers was stealing. But I said, we need $100,000. We need to renovate. We need to get rid of the tile. Because the tile was like, it was like in all of the reviews at the time. And the reviews were all about, you know, just bad operations. And I said, like, if we can fix that, we're going to be better, and it's going to attract more people. And I told him, we're not making any money because who wants to go to a hotel with bad reviews, you know? And so he was like, what are you talking about? Like, how am I going to, well, I just spent so much money in there. I said, I know, but it wasn't handled right. This is what we need. You just need to trust me. And so this is where I've talked about my vision was like, we were at the point where like, okay, should we sell it? The CPA was like, just sell it. And I was like, no, just give me 1 year. Just give me 1 year, and I'm going to do whatever it takes, right? And this is where I learned everything that I know and all of my experience from my upbringing regarding nursing and waitressing and working in those environments. The sales part, as a waitress, you have to learn how to smile and be friendly, customer service. So I had a lot of that in me. And with being a nurse, I had that in me to provide care, to learn how to follow up, how to delegate, how to talk to a doctor, how to research medication, how to study. I mean, when I was a nurse, when nursing school, it was so hard. I mean, it's just so hard going into nursing school, and then you have to pass the test, and then you know, so sacrifice. I mean, I knew what sacrifice meant, and I knew what it meant to study for hours. I used to throw my books against the wall because I was so frustrated, and I felt like I don't have a life, you know, but it was rewarding because I became a nurse, and all of that, I took that in me and I put it into something new. And that's where resilience came in, and vision. And I said, this is what we need to do. So I was at a point where I had a vision that no one can see, but I did. Well, guess what? You know, 1 year later, boom, we didn't lose a penny. We didn't lose a penny. So then I knew I was on track. So then I learned, so in that 1 year, it was really hard to get the money. At that time, that's why I stress about building your credit, having relationships with the bank, um, documenting your work, taking images of your work, um, all of that's so important because when we needed the money, we couldn't get money from the bank. And I mentioned this too in one of my videos. We couldn't get money from the bank because our financials look horrible with this property. No one. I got denied like 6 times. 6 times. My current bank would not lend me another loan. And we reached out to another bank in the area. They're like, I'm sorry, but like we can't give you any money because you keep putting money into your business. That's why it's important not to put money, personal money, into your business account, because it shows that you can't sustain. So if you're going to be putting money into your business account from your personal, you have to be like a contribution. Like, I'm only contributing because we want to put that in there and we're going to do whatever. But if your property shows that it's losing money, there's no NOI, a bank don't even want to lend you money because it's a risk. So I even reached out to my CPA and I said, do you know any banks? Do you know anyone that you can talk to me and say like, hey, like, she's a good person, lend her money, she's going to turn it around. So when I was speaking with the banks, trying to explain my situation, they were like, well, if you say you're this good, then why is it so bad? And I said, well, because what you're looking at, the financials that you're looking at, is from past management. So I'm coming in right now, and I just noticed that right here. Keep rubbing on it. I'm coming in right here to fix it. And so, like, this is my plan. So that's how I learned how to do a business plan, like to create a business plan to show my vision and how I'm going to do it. And I got denied. Long story short, denied. That's when I turned to a relative and I was like, listen to me. I need $100,000. Just give me $100,000 and I'm going to use that to fix a tile, maybe a few maintenance items that we can do to make the reviews better. And while we do that, I'm going to work on structuring the front desk and the operations and each department so that it flows. So then that's how I learned how to structure a team. Well, a year later, we didn't lose a penny. And then the year after that, I was able to repay that relative their money back. And since then, which has been since 2017, I think 2018, 2017. Maybe 2016 into 2017, not one penny has ever been lost in the business, and we've been profitable every year. And because with that profits, we're able to use that to build into other businesses such as apartments, condos, real estate, e-commerce. So that's why it's so important to create your LLC, to create your entity, to build that business credit, and to provide structure and systems in your place. So that's why I talk about creating systems and structure, because all of that is an asset into your business that's going to make you money. There's just no way you can lose money with systems and processes. So that was my vision. That's what I'm saying. Like, at the moment, it doesn't seem like you're there, but you can get there. You can get there. But people along the way won't believe you. Banks didn't believe me. They doubted me. Rejection. So in business, you have to learn to be rejected, to be resilient, to be courageous, and don't listen to them. And I proved them wrong. So now I don't have a problem with the bank. I have multiple relationships with banks. I can get funding however, whenever I need that. And that's because I have a business plan set up. We have the entity. I have the financials to back it up. And so after that year, it's just gotten better, and then here comes 2020. But this is the great thing about 2020. Before 2020 came, I think it was close to like 2018. I got hit with my PIP, with the franchise. They're like, okay, Crystal, you need to renovate this hotel. And this is what you need to do. And I was like, okay, how could I have been prepared for that if I didn't stabilize where I was at? I would have been like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, you want me to get rid of all my furniture, replace all the carpet, redo all the tubs, put new tile? How can I do that if we're losing money every year? You know, I would have been like pulling my hair out. But because I worked that year before, when I got to that point, I'm like, okay, I got this. I got this. I didn't get a contractor to renovate my hotel. I just found people that from other, this is why collaboration and networking is so important. I found other skilled people that renovated other hotels, and because I have connections with my local competitors, I'm like, hey, who did you use for tile? Who did you use for wallpaper? Who did you use for that? Who did you use for that? And they would send it to me. And you know, as a hotel, we all have a relationship with each other, and even though we're competitors and we're trying to you know, take each other's business, regarding groups and stuff, like, just that's just what it is. But we still know that we support each other and we help each other when we can, because when you're in need, you want help. And I'm all about giving, you know. And this is why I'm here, to share valuable information to you, and because it's to encourage you, you know, like, it's not always, sometimes you see people and they're successful and all of that, but you don't know the backstory, you don't know the struggle. So I like to let you know that the struggle's real and you can do it. And if you have a vision, you can get there. So let me tell the story about after I renovated the tile. It was little things. It was a tile. This is the thing about in hotel business, and this story can relate to anyone with vision, motivation. But the reason why I talk about hotel is because that's where a lot of my experience came from in business and structuring and teamwork and all of that. So after I fixed the tile in a hotel, if you're a franchise, you can't just go pick whatever tile you want. You have to get it approved by the franchise from the vendor they want, and installed the way they want it, the cut, and even the grout color, the grout. So I knew that because I studied and I was very diligent in understanding brand standards and the recommendations. Because if I didn't do that, and let's say I came in there, I'm like, okay, honey, well, I'm gonna be airhead. Let me just, you know what, I really like this tile. Let's just put it in and put all this money in here. And then turns out that Choice will come and inspect you, and they'll be like, redo it all. That's not our vision. That's not our image. Because, you know, as a franchise, you want to create that similarity experience for your guests everywhere they go. When they walk into their hotel, it's going to be the same, just like Walmart, just like HEB. Like, you want it to be like that. And so because I was diligent and I studied, I didn't do that, I studied. I reached out to my area director, there we go, her name's Nicole, and I said, I need to put new tile in here, like, what do I do? And no experience. I'm not a contractor, but I was a contractor. Contracting work, finding teams. And that's where I learned how to install tile. That's how I learned, like, how you gotta do the grout. That's how I learned, like, how things were supposed to be. And then that's how I learned, like, okay, like, don't hire that person, they do it wrong. And I learned, and it was successful. And so when that year ended and I spent that $100,000, the next year was able to actually pay him back. And then that's when Choice came in. Okay, you gotta do your PIP now. And I'm like, okay, well, I got this. Because at that time, in that 1 year of transformation of the tile done in sections, that's when I learned how to close down the hotel, like in sections. You know, if I'm gonna be doing tile, we're gonna make sure no one's gonna be below those rooms, and we're gonna make sure, like, no one's gonna be in those hallways. So I learned how to, you know, cut hallways in the system and all of this stuff, and reviews. And we never shut down the hotel in none of my renovations, none. So when Choice came back and told me that, I was in a better place. So I'm like, okay. I went to my bank And I said, I need to renovate my hotel. He's like, well, we can't just be, and this is what he told me. Basically, they were saying, we can't just be giving you a loan every 6 years. And I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, you can. And and I was thinking to myself, well, then you really don't know hotel business, because hotels need to renovate every 6, maybe 10 years. Um, and so I was like, you know what? And there's another thing, and I talked about this in my other videos, was like my current loan I have with this bank. I was like, I don't understand why my interest rate is always fluctuating. He said, oh, well, that's because you're not on a fixed rate. And I said, well, I want to be on a fixed rate. How do I do that? Is, well, you can't, because you were once on a fixed rate and now you're on a variable rate, and it's going to fluctuate. And I said, well, what do I need to do that? And he's like, well, you need to refinance. And this is when I learned how to refinance. And I said, okay, well, what are the terms can you give me? And if I refinance with you, can you then give me that loan? I'm going to need about $300,000 to renovate. And that was my budget. Like, I needed to do the carpet in the rooms, the hallways, the wallpaper, new tubs. I already did the tile, and I needed to do paint tile in the lobby area. And that's where you're gonna see a lot of my images on Instagram. Well, I don't know actually if I have it on this channel, but I have it on probably other channels. And that was my budget. Like, I need about 300. It was like 350 grand. And he's like, well, I really can't give you that. And I'm like, well, okay. So then I went to a different bank and I said, look, I want to. I'm a hotel. These are my financials. They look great. I profited. I actually had an NOI. I'm doing really well. I want to increase my value on my building. I want to provide a better service for my guests. I'm a franchise. I'm on the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm a businesswoman, and I want to bank with you and build a relationship with you. So then you have to learn how to talk with your bank, talk with confidence, show them a business plan, and show me your financials, and know your financials, like, know your numbers. That's why I'm talking to you. Like, if you have a vision that you even want to even start a business, you have to know, like, this is where you gotta be at eventually. Like, eventually that's where you're gonna be. So learn today. Take my advice. I'm sharing with you years of pain and trying to figure it out, and learning, and hours. I'm giving it to you, and right now it's been 22 minutes. All of this knowledge and value, take it. I didn't have that. No one told me these things. I figured it out because I self-educated myself. I read, how do you do a business plan? What did the banks look for? And so I was I'm forever a student. I'm still learning, and all kinds of things. And I just love to share and help others, because I didn't have that help. So then I got with him, and they're like, well, how much do you need? I said, well, I need 300,000. And this is why. I already had all of my quotes, all of my invoices of what it would be. Okay. Now, at that time, I'm talking to this bank. I was also talking to my previous bank, who was kind of not wanting to give me a loan, okay? I was talking to both of them because I didn't want to waste time. And I learned that, okay, well, if you need a loan, I need to know, like, well, why do you want $300,000? Because they already knew I was struggling, but I was doing better. And I was trying to prove to my bank, like, I did better. Like, remember when I came to you last year and it looked horrible? Well, look, it's doing better now because I'm managing now. I'm the management there. He's like, okay, well, why do you need that 350 grand? Can you show me any quotes? So that's when I'm like, oh, okay, well, the banks need the quotes. So I was preparing that. But when I got to the second bank, I'm like, here it is. So I'm talking to both of them at the same time. And long story short, I couldn't wait for them to decide, because sometimes when you want to refinance, I was refinancing and getting a loan and transferring to a different bank. I was already starting to renovate because I'm on a timeline. Like, when you renovate a hotel, you can't just renovate whenever you want. You got to do it on a slow season. So within that year working in the hotel, I already knew, like, when was my busy times, when was my my slow times. So then I knew like this is where I need to kind of like rip out tile. This is where I kind of need to like rip out the tubs, like my slow season. And and I got with the bank. I said, look, I'm already starting my renovation. Can you reimburse me by the time I get my loan? So I was able to get reimbursed. So long story short on this, the new bank I'm currently with now was able to give me better terms, give me on a fixed rate, so I'm not fluctuating on interest rate. And thank God, because right now interest rate is like high and I'm on a low interest rate. They were able to refinance me. They were able to pay off my loan at my first bank, assume the loan, add 350,000, give or take, and then reimburse me what I already spent. So they didn't just deposit 350,000 in my bank account. What they did was they assumed my loan, and then they deposited the amount I already spent. I don't know, maybe like 20 grand. I don't really remember. They just deposited me. And I feel like, okay, great, like I cut that back, great, because I really didn't want to spend my cash. I want to protect. That's why the thing about loans is to conserve your cash. And I'm going to get to that point here in a second when COVID came. And so all of these steps I took prepared me to survive COVID. And I've talked about this in my other videos, and even in my blog on my website, I talked about this. Conserve my cash and use the loan and let the business pay for the loan itself. I'm not paying for the loan. The business paying for the loan. It's paying it by the guests come in. They pay for their stay, and they're paying for my mortgage. They're paying for the payroll. My guests pay all my bills. I don't pay none of my bills. The guest pays all the bills, right? So, so then what the bank did was they said, okay, Crystal, now every time you say you need some money, I need that invoice to back it up. Because they're trying to build trust with me. I'm a new person. I just came in. And so anyways, long story short, every time I needed that money, they would deposit into my bank account. And then boom, I write a check, or boom, I pay. So a lot of my vendors for this renovation, it was just easier to just write them a check, because a credit card processing fee, like I didn't really want to pay that at that time. So every single penny that I needed got deposited into my bank account and gone with renovation. So that was like 2018, and into 2019, I'm like renovating, and I'm almost done. And the final thing I needed was my furniture. Like all of my 62 rooms, I needed all new furniture. I was getting rid of all my furniture, and then COVID came 2020, and I have a video on my Instagram of how the work went. And I was renovating when the world stopped. And I had no power to stop this. I was like a little nervous, because I'm like, how am I going to continue when like I have no business and I have to pay these workers? But that's when the cash I had reserved helped me pay the workers. So, with this vendor, some of the stuff came and it delayed. And so it took, I think I was supposed to get here in December, and the slowest, and maybe January. But then because of the COVID and things started shutting down and people were freaking out and everything, it came in March, my furniture, like the busiest time of the year. But because we were like actually locked down, like it was like, okay, that's fine. Like it was out of my control, but I could do this. So we were renovating and we were removing all the furniture, and I had to get rid of the furniture. So I actually sold a lot of the furniture to the public. They would come in, get whatever they want, and pay for it, and then they would go. So that helped eliminate the furniture. And long story short, we renovated, completely finished that. And all those steps I took beforehand helped me get to where I was at. So You have to do things now to get you to where you want to go in your life, in your business, in your finances. This is why I'm here to say this is it. No more excuses. 2023 is about to come. What are your plans? So, what is your vision? And that's what I'm saying. Like, your vision, you need to protect it, and your mission. You can't just tell it to everybody because they're going to discourage you. They're going to say, oh, that's not good. What if I listened to my CPA and we sold the business? Like, that's a bad idea right now. My area is high in value. Like, after COVID came, I mean, it exploded the whole town we're in. And revenue, record sales in 2022. I mean, I've never had these numbers. And so that was like a blessing. And I wouldn't have gotten there if I didn't take those steps of fixing the tile, restructuring the team, putting systems in place, learning how to be rejected, the resilience, I'm going to do whatever it takes, the self-education, the self-development, and learning how to get with the banks and learning your financials and understanding your P&L and understanding your reports and understanding how to talk to the banks and business plan and all of that. So, and I learned from all of that, and it was not easy. It was not easy at all. And that's why I want to come on here and to share that with you. So take that today and protect your vision, protect your mission, cut off negativity. I'm all about cutting off negativity. Like, I don't want to hear. I tell my team, look, you come in here and you look like you had a bad day, or you look like you're tired, or you look like something's bothering you. I said, I don't want to see it. Like, you need to come in here like, hey guys, what's going on? Like, how's it going? What do I need to do? Awesome. Yes. I need that. Now, if you don't have that, I'm going to let you know, like, you need to learn to push back and control yourself. And be who you want to be what you want to be. And so this is a totally different topic, which I definitely want to get into, is like, you might have a team, you want our structure and systems and all that stuff, but what you also need to focus on, which I don't hear a lot of people talk about, and I don't think people want to have the time for this, but the person that's your team member, they need to continue to do self-development. A lot of them can't control their anger, or a lot of them can't control maybe negative thoughts coming in. And then sometimes I see that when I have someone, like, they're good and everything, but then I notice, like, I say, hey, you know what, next time when you check someone in, try to do this and do that. And then when I say that, they look like hurt or like upset. And I'm like, and I see that. And then at that moment, this is something that you have to learn, is you can't talk about that at that moment, because then you're going to amplify. They're going to start getting defensive. And that's just not what I want to do when I'm teaching, coaching, training my people. It's just, you have to kind of just pay attention to that and just notice that, like, how can I approach them in a different way for them not to feel that way. And that's something that's a personal thing in them that you can't just take away, but you notice. So then you have to figure out ways to be like, hey, I just want to let you know that you're doing a great job. And you're so smart and all of this positive thing. But I noticed that when I mention something or I try to correct you, your whole demeanor changes. Like, I upset you, and you just look like you're not happy at that moment. And I just want to let you know, I'm only here to make you better, and it's not personal. It's all about business. And that's what I tell my team is like, look, don't come in here and get butt hurt because I'm going to say, you don't do it that way or whatever. It's business. Don't take it personal. Nothing in the property is personal. So don't take it personal. So then you're learning to build resilience in them and be like, okay, I got this. They'll be able to constructive criticism, take it and build on it and want to even try harder, not shut down and feel like, well, she's always on me. Then and those are about attitudes, and that's a different subject with your team. Like, it's those attitudes. How do I get them to think differently? And so mindset and conditioning them is something else that I do, and I help other properties figure out, little tricks and things to help them. But sometimes some people just don't want to get there, and those are the ones that don't belong in your culture. So that's a totally different subject. But I just wanted to get with you about how that also influences the whole team and the structure thing. Like, there's just, you can go down to micro levels to it, So I hope you take that. I hope you learned something today. I hope you found this valuable. If so, please comment in my comment, and I will see you soon.